Captain Stephen O'Neill was bearing both the calm resolve and daring curiosity that marked him as a true leader. His father, General Christopher O'Neill, had once said that Stephen had the heart of a soldier but the soul of a diplomat, a unique balance that had earned him the trust of his crew and the respect of the Galactic Alliance. Stephen's mission today, however, was more dangerous than any before. The Utaja had agreed to a diplomatic meeting after years of hostility, and Stephen was chosen to broker the peace, a task that weighed heavily on his shoulders. The Utaja were a warrior race, known throughout the galaxy as the fiercest predators, their very name striking fear in neighboring systems. This meeting was intended to change the tide, to finally bring about a tenuous peace between the Utaja and humanity. The horizon floated in orbit above an uncharted planet deep in Utaja territory. The plan was simple: land, meet the Utaja representatives, and initiate discussions. But something in Stephen's got twisted. He couldn't shake the unease that had settled in the moment they crossed the Utaja border. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the surface," Lieutenant Garza, his communications officer, reported. The message that followed was brief and oddly formal, confirming the location and time for the meeting. Yet, the tone felt off. "Stay alert," Stephen ordered, his hand resting on his sidearm as he prepared to leave the ship. This could still be a trap. His instincts were right. The moment Stephen and his team disembarked onto the surface, they were met not by diplomats, but by Utaja soldiers. Hundreds of them, bristling with weapons and towering over the humans. The ground beneath their feet trembled as Stephen stood his ground, his heart pounding but his expression calm. "Captain O'Neill," a Utaja voice boomed from the leader of the ambush, his predatory grin stretching across his face. "You humans thought you could come here and speak of peace." His laughter echoed across the desolate landscape. "You are prey, and the Utaja do not negotiate with prey." Without warning, the Utaja opened fire. Stephen's team was cut down in seconds, the flashes of plasma rifles lighting up the battlefield. He managed to fight back, taking down several Utaja soldiers in a flurry of quick, decisive shots, but it was futile. He was outnumbered and outmatched. Within minutes, Stephen was captured, forced to his knees in the mud, blood dripping from a wound in his side. The Utaja leader approached, towering over him with cold eyes. "You will die, Captain, like all who challenge the Utaja. But your death will serve a greater purpose." Stephen's defiance shone through despite the agony racking his body. "You may kill me," he growled, "but humanity will never bow to you." The Utaja's response was a cruel laugh. "We shall see." The execution was brutal, filmed in gruesome detail by the Utaja as they recorded their triumph. They severed his head, raising it high as a trophy, sending the footage across the stars to Earth. The Utaja warlord's final words in the transmission were chilling. "This is what happens to those who defy us. You are nothing but prey to be hunted." Back on Earth, the footage of Stephen's death sent shockwaves through humanity. It aired across every screen, the public watching in horror as the son of one of the most respected generals was butchered like an animal. The video was a declaration of war, not just to General Christopher O'Neill, but to the entire human race. But for Christopher, it was personal. The death of his son ignited a fire in him that could not be extinguished. As he watched the footage, his hands clenched into fists and his vision blurred with rage. The galaxy's fiercest predators had made their gravest mistake. "They want war," Christopher muttered through gritted teeth. "I'll give them war." He called for an immediate military briefing, rallying Earth's finest warriors, and prepared for the most devastating counterstrike humanity had ever launched. The general's heart was heavy with grief, but his resolve was unbreakable. Stephen's death would not go unanswered. The Utaja would pay, and Christopher O'Neill would lead the charge. This was no longer about diplomacy, negotiations, or peace. General Christopher O'Neill stood at the helm of Earth's united forces, a steely resolve etched across his face. His heart burned with the memory of Stephen, each heartbeat a reminder of the loss that had sparked a firestorm of rage within him. He now commanded not only soldiers, but a coalition of races drawn together by the shared understanding of the threat posed by the Utaja. They had pushed humanity too far, and the time for diplomacy had long passed. The command center was a bustling hive of activity, officers moving with purpose and urgency. Holographic displays filled the air, projecting images of Utaja territory and military assets. Christopher focused on the main screen, where a three-dimensional map illustrated their adversaries' strongholds, swirling clouds of red indicating enemy troop movements. "Lieutenant Garza," he called out, his voice steady despite the tempest of emotions raging within him. "What's the latest intel?" Garza, who had survived the ambush that claimed Stefan, stood by his side. "We've intercepted communications indicating that the Utaja are consolidating their forces near their home planet, Qatar." He pointed at the map, his finger tracing a path through the galaxy. "They believe they're untouchable now that they've demonstrated their might. Arrogance will be their downfall," Christopher replied, a grim smile forming on his lips. "Prepare the fleet for a full-scale assault. We'll hit them hard and fast before they can regroup." The plan was audacious. Strike deep into enemy territory, targeting the Utaja capital and their key military installations. They would use the element of surprise, employing tactics designed to exploit the Utaja's overconfidence. Christopher assembled a team of humanity's finest strategists, mixing veteran commanders with fresh minds eager to prove their worth. They analyzed data, formulated strategies, and prepared for war. Meanwhile, the crew of the USS Horizon had been repurposed for this next phase of conflict. Stefan's former crew, now operating under the command of Captain Jen and Nancy, mourned their fallen leader, but found strength in the collective memory of his bravery. Together, they would carry out the mission he would have championed. Nancy had been close to Stefan, sharing not just camaraderie, but a bond forged in the fires of battle. "Captain, we're ready to deploy," Garza reported, standing by Nancy. She nodded, determination shining in her eyes. "Let's make sure we do this in Stefan's honor," Nancy replied, her voice steady. No more mercy for the Utaja. As the fleet assembled, Christopher felt the weight of the galaxy's eyes upon him. Earth was no longer alone in this fight. The Alliance had pooled its resources, sending ships from various worlds to stand shoulder to shoulder with humanity. The diverse crew, humans, Rigolites, and Zarkarians, represented the unity forged in the face of tragedy. "Prepare for launch," Christopher ordered, a fire igniting in his belly as the fleet's engines hummed to life. "We go to avenge our brother and son." The ship sliced through space, engines roaring as they approached Qatar. The opulence of the Utaja homeworld stood in stark contrast to the bleakness of the reality the aliens had chosen to embrace. As they neared the planet, Christopher spoke through the comms, his voice echoing throughout the fleet. "Today, we honor Captain Stefan O'Neill and all those who have fallen. Let the Utaja remember this day as the moment their reign of terror ended. We are not prey. We are the hunters." The fleet surged forward, striking the Utaja capital with precision and ferocity. The initial wave of ships bombarded the surface, unleashing a torrent of energy beams and missile strikes, crippling critical infrastructure. The element of surprise shattered the Utaja's confidence, sending them reeling. Panic spread like wildfire among their ranks. On the ground, soldiers engaged in fierce combat, supported by artillery strikes and aerial bombardments. The battlefield was a chaotic symphony of fire and explosions, with humanity pushing relentlessly forward. Christopher coordinated the assault from the flagship, his tactical brilliance guiding the forces like a maestro conducting an orchestra. Captain Nancy led her crew into the thick of the fray, her ship weaving between enemy fire, returning it with deadly accuracy. The sight of the Utaja forces faltering invigorated her crew, fueled by the spirit of their fallen captain. Each battle cry was a tribute to Stefan, echoing through the void as they fought not just for survival but for vengeance. "Push forward. Do not relent," Nancy shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. Her command reverberated through the comms. infusing every soldier with the fervor of their cause. As the battle raged on, it became clear that Christopher's strategy was paying off. The Utaja, once seen as the fiercest predators in the galaxy, were crumbling under the weight of humanity's fury. And in the heart of it all, General O'Neill remained steadfast, his resolve unshakable. The video of his son's murder had ignited a tempest within him, propelling humanity into a war that would reshape the galaxy. They would not just fight back. They would dismantle the myth of Utaja invincibility, brick by bloody brick. The tide was turning, but the fight was far from over. They had sent a message today. Humanity was no longer a mere observer in the grand theater of the cosmos. They were warriors, and they would rise from the ashes of grief, united and resolute. The dust settled over the remnants of Qatar, casting an eerie silence across the battlefield. General Christopher O'Neill surveyed the destruction from the command deck of the USS Horizon, the weight of victory heavy on his shoulders. The offensive had decimated the Utaja forces, dismantling their stronghold in mere hours. Yet, the cheers of triumph were muted by the stark reality that victory had come at a significant cost. Lives had been lost, both human and alien, and the galaxy would never be the same. The remnants of the Utaja Empire lay in disarray, their pride shattered alongside their defenses. Once regarded as the galaxy's fiercest predators, they were now a humbled species, left to reckon with the consequences of their brutal tactics. News of the defeat spread like wildfire, shaking the foundations of interstellar power dynamics. Christopher knew that their triumph would resonate throughout the cosmos, sparking hope in the hearts of those who had suffered under Utaja oppression. Back on Earth, the people reacted with a mixture of relief and sorrow. A memorial was erected for the fallen soldiers, including Captain Stephen O'Neill. His name became a rallying cry, a symbol of resistance and resilience. General O'Neill addressed the crowds, his voice echoing across the planets united in their struggle. "We have shown the galaxy that humanity will not be preyed upon," he declared, pride swelling in his chest. "But let us not forget that with great power comes great responsibility. We must forge a new path, one of unity and peace, to ensure that no other family suffers as mine has." Yet the universe was a complex tapestry of alliances and rivalries, and the repercussions of their actions began to ripple through the galactic community. The once feared Utaja were now seen as vulnerable, inviting opportunistic factions to test their strength. Former allies grew wary, and some even plotted to exploit the chaos left in the wake of the war. In the immediate aftermath, tensions flared as the Galactic Council convened. Representatives from various species gathered to discuss the fallout of the Utaja defeat. Among them was Admiral Isara of the Rigalite Federation, whose keen mind had long been an asset in diplomatic circles. Her luminous blue skin shimmered as she stepped forward, addressing the assembly. "Today, we stand at a crossroads," she began, her voice calm yet firm. "The balance of power has shifted dramatically. It is our duty to ensure that we do not plunge into an era of chaos. We must unite to prevent any further conflict." The other leaders listened intently, some nodding in agreement, while others whispered among themselves. The Utaja's downfall had left a vacuum, and the fear of new hostilities loomed large. Christopher was acutely aware that the galaxy would look to him for leadership. Humanity's recent victory had placed him at the forefront of this political maelstrom. Back on Qatar, the aftermath was sobering. Reconnaissance teams were dispatched to assess the damage and offer aid to the displaced Utaja civilians. The general knew that humanity could not merely celebrate their victory. They had a responsibility to help rebuild, even those who had been their enemies. "Captain Nancy," Christopher said during a strategy meeting, "I want you to lead a humanitarian mission to assist the civilians. Show them that we are not just conquerors, but also bearers of hope." Nancy, her expression resolute, nodded. "Understood, General. We'll show them that there's a path forward, one built on cooperation and understanding." As humanity extended a hand, the ripples of change began to resonate across the galaxy. News of their generosity reached distant worlds, and whispers of a new alliance began to emerge. Species previously reluctant to align with humanity now sought partnerships, drawn by the prospect of shared strength and mutual benefit. However, not everyone was pleased. A faction within the Utaja remnants, led by the warlord Vrax, sought vengeance. Vrax rallied those disillusioned by their defeat, promising to reclaim their honor. "The galaxy will tremble before us once more," he declared to his followers, igniting the flames of revenge in their hearts. "We shall rise from the ashes and make humanity pay for their insolence." This brewing storm posed a new challenge for Christopher and his allies. As the galaxy held its breath, Christopher O'Neill found himself in a precarious position. The path he had forged in the name of Stefan, and all those lost hung in the balance. He summoned his closest advisors for an emergency meeting, urgency palpable in the air. "We must anticipate their next move. If Vrax seeks to unify the Utaja against us, we cannot allow that to happen. We must act swiftly and decisively." As strategies were discussed, Christopher felt the weight of his son's legacy urging him onward. The galaxy was not merely a chessboard. It was filled with lives, each deserving of dignity and respect. He had started this campaign with vengeance, but he now understood that true strength lay in the ability to foster peace amid the ashes of war. The meeting concluded with a renewed sense of purpose. Humanity, alongside their allies, would stand against the darkness gathering in the void. As they prepared for what lay ahead, Christopher found solace in the knowledge that while the scars of conflict would remain, the potential for a brighter future had also taken root. And as they looked to the stars, a determination burned brightly in their hearts to protect the legacy of the fallen and build a galaxy where hope could flourish once more.